Welcome to She's a Full-On Monet, a digital lifestyle magazine for women. Every week, our editor-in-chief, Kelly Castillo, along with Megan Block and special guests, participate in a deep dive discussion about recent articles and topics we have covered. We invite you to become part of our community where everyone's welcome. You can totally sit with us.
Welcome back to She's a Full-On Monet. I am your host, Kelly, and I have with me, as always, Megan.
Hello. Happy holidays.
Yes, we want to wish everyone a very happy holiday for everyone who celebrates. Thank you guys, everyone who's been with us on this whole journey and stuck out this year with us. We really appreciate each and every one of you. It's really exciting. I know, at least for me and probably for you too, Megan, to see every week, like the additional people who download our podcast or listen to us on our website or watch the YouTube video too. It's great to see that kind of growth. And
it reminds me of that movie, Julie and Julia. Like, I always wonder if it's just like my dad listening to my podcast or like if there's other people out there. When I see how many people are actually tuning in and repeatedly tuning in, it just makes me excited to record new stuff every week, you know?
Yeah, me too. I mean, I enjoy talking to you. Like, so I would probably do it if nobody was listening, but it's not
right. It's okay if it's just my dad, but it's cool that it's more than just my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we just talk no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. But, so today's topic is kind of an important one. I think it's something that I guess I kind of knew this was a thing, but I didn't know very much about it. And I definitely didn't know that it was something that was, becoming more and more common or growing. And that's concerning. So we do want to talk about today, broken heart syndrome, which isn't what it sounds because heartbreak sucks, but that's not what we're talking about. We're actually talking about a medical condition called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. So this is a topic that's, I think, really important for our listeners to learn about because it is growing rapidly, especially among women ages 50 to 72. That seems to be or 50 to 74 rather. It seems to be kind of like the sweet spot for this. We're seeing it increasing across, all age groups and both men and women, but in that age range, females 50 to 74, it's gone up 6 to 10 times in the last decade. And that's a huge jump. So this was the study between 2006 and 2017. So in those 11 years, it went up almost 10 times. So that's kind of crazy. I think also maybe that has something to do with the fact that doctors are also becoming more aware of this. And so it's getting diagnosed more frequently. I would just assume that. But this is a stress-induced condition. And thankfully it isn't often fatal. But sorry, it isn't often fatal, but it can cause like heart disease and a more severe heart condition. So the symptoms are very similar to a heart attack. So this is something that you've probably heard these symptoms before and registered them as, what to look out for a heart attack. Broken heart syndrome is not a heart attack. It's different. So it's not caused by physical factors, meaning like it's not caused by clogged arteries or a genetic predisposition heart disease or something like that. It's actually caused by like a stress-induced reaction. So, but the symptoms are similar. They're chest pain, shortness of breath, sweating, nausea, dizziness. Those are kind of what you would look out for this. But to me, that's scary because I don't have a family history of heart disease, but, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, clogged arteries. I don't have any of that, but I definitely have stress.
But I definitely have the trigger for all these things. Yeah, no, it freaks me out too. I have a little bit of like a murmur in my heart where and it it is caused by stress. So when I was hearing about broken heart syndrome, I too I knew it's something like it had to have existed, but I didn't know there was a name for it. And then when I was reading about it, I was like, dude, how am I supposed to determine like when this is happening to me when I'm older versus when I'm just having something that I already have, and that's going to stress me. The thought of that was stressing me out. And I was like, cool. So I might be causing, you know what I mean? It's just like, if you already have some type of heart condition or you suffer from major anxiety or stress, hearing about this when you're older can kind of freak you out, especially if you're a woman in your 50s and older. You're just like, oh, I'm in the perfect age and gender for this. And here's some information. So totally, I could totally see why it would be more prescribed now, because maybe people are hearing about it and then having their doctor check it out. And then their doctor's like, yes, so who knows? But yeah, I'm not too far away from this situation being something I have to seriously look at myself, but I certainly
me either. I'm 45. So that means, my risks in the next 5 years are definitely going to jump. And it was interesting to me that when they did these studies, the doctors running the studies expected to see the age group most affected by this to be over 75, because you have a natural kind of deterioration of your physical self in that age range. And that's where they see most prevalence of heart issues, diseases, things like that. But 88% of the people diagnosed with this were women, and over 50, right around 50 or right over 50. So 88% is like a heck of a lot.
That's like all of that.
Yeah, that's like all of them.
That's like basically 100. And when you get to 88, that's so close to 90. That's crazy.
So, they said that for every case of the condition they found in either men or younger women, they found 10 cases for middle-aged or older women. So this is a really serious problem that it can affect, millions of women per year. So we definitely want to share with you the causes and things you can do for prevention, and kind of ease your mind as far as the seriousness of this and the treatments and stuff for it. Because this is concerning. When I read this, I get concerned because I've had a high stress lifestyle for my entire adult life. So I really don't know any condition other than being high stress. And I do self-care stuff to kind of combat that. I do take quiet time. I do like things to decompress. I do yoga. But
stress is all you know.
Stress is all I know. Yeah. I've never had a period of my life. I'm just starting to get to that period of my life where the stress is kind of calming down a little bit, but it's still, I think, more than most people have to deal with. But so this condition can be caused by chronic levels of high stress, which I think all of us women who carry a lot on our shoulders can really relate to that. But it can also be caused by a sudden instance of high stress. So that could be like, the loss of a loved one, a divorce, something really, really serious that you're going through in your life that can affect your health in this way. It can also be caused by, relationships that are abusive, or a very serious accident or some kind of physical trauma that you're healing from. That can give you that high level of stress that can cause something like this. But I think most people would be at danger of this just for chronic stress. And the COVID situation that we've been dealing with for the last 2+ years is one of the highest stress things that I think our generation has been through.
I think it has a lot to do with probably chronic stress, and then lack of knowledge on how to properly handle stress. Like I would never know just by talking to you the amount of stress that you deal with. And even though you are carrying it on your shoulders, you seem, but there are some people where I hear what they're going through, and they just, how they handle their stress, what they do with themselves, whether it's breathing or meditation or whatever, like they're able to stay within a certain level of calm, to where they don't let their outside environments completely take over how they, react to everything. I'm not that person. I'm like, the minute I am chronic, I'm like you, very chronic high stress. And I also don't handle it well. I let it kind of, take over me. So I also worrying about what I'm doing before I turn 50 that could be causing this for me to be in like the for sure 88%. Like, is there any way to reverse this situation before I get there? Like, you know what I mean? So it's chronic stress, and then also not properly knowing how to handle the stress, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are things that if you're not doing them, you can do in your everyday life to kind of give yourself outlets for the stress. I know we have talked about this extensively on this podcast, and we talk about it all the time on our site. We always talk about therapy, just talking it out with someone, having someone you can go to when you're having, I don't want to say breakdown, but like you're at your breaking point, is something that can be a very close friend, a sister, a partner, or a therapist. Having an outlet in your life that you can vent to is really important. And having things that you do, like I like to be outside in nature. I like to go for walks in the countryside or on the beach. That kind of grounds me and helps me shift my perspective a little bit. And then, walking and yoga for me are big de-stressors. I keep a very regular routine of that. I also find that if I'm not taking care of myself as far as diet goes, and getting enough water and things like that, it contributes to my ability to handle stress. So if I'm eating nothing but junk and I'm drinking wine and I'm doing this or that, I tend to have a lower tolerance for my stress than if I'm really taking care of my body in a healthy way.
Oh yeah. How often are we stressed out and then we don't eat? And then like we eat a sandwich and we're like 50-60% better than we were 5 seconds ago. Like you have to take care of yourself, and that's good. It sounds like what pushes you over the edge and what keeps it kind of like flowing. And that those are things that are non-negotiables for you. You need that.
It's so hard though, because when I am stressed out, that is when I want comfort foods, which for me are not healthy. My comfort food is not broccoli. I don't know anyone whose is.
Right.
So my comfort foods are what I want to reach for when I'm feeling really stressed out. But I've learned that they don't make me feel better other than in that exact moment, because I need, nutrients, I need water, I need more than, ice cream and Pop-Tarts to feel good. And I wish that wasn't the case. I wish, hot cocoa and Christmas cookies was my nutritional need, but it's not. So
yeah.
Unfortunately.
I know. I always make that mistake of like, I'm feeling hangry or like over this or over that. And I like go through Starbucks and get breakfast, which is a coffee and a muffin. And I'm like, I don't feel better, but that was supposed to make me feel better. Yeah. We're getting off topic, but still, being able to handle your, if you're in a situation where stress is your life, and it's always been that way, there's certain things that you can do and practice that can help you. And then there's things that you do, or you can choose to do, that are going to push you towards the negative space that you don't want to be in. So,
and I will say that, when I did I don't know if I think I've talked about this before on here, but I don't know if everyone remembers. I'm a court-appointed advocate for foster kids, and I had to go through a lot of training to do that. And one of the things they teach you is how, especially young children's bodies react to a fight or flight kind of response. And that's what kids who are dealing with everyday trauma are dealing with. They're dealing with a fight or flight response every moment of the day. And that level of adrenaline affects how their brain functions, how they learn in school, how they sleep, how their behavior is, everything that you would imagine it would affect. And I've learned that even the small things that you can control, if you can't control what's going on around you and your stress level, the small things you can control, like your blood sugar response, your digestion, your gut health, because serotonin and cortisol and things like that are also created in the gut. And so if you're at least taking care of your nutritional needs, if you're at least trying to drink enough water, if you can't get enough sleep because of what's going on in your life, if you're at least trying to drink enough water, trying to get outside every day, the things that you can do in the small ways, I've seen on a huge scale how that affects small children going through trauma. So and growing teenagers and stuff going through trauma. So I can only imagine that myself as a middle-aged woman, it's probably a little bit lesser of an impact, but still a big impact.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. So that's one thing I try to be consistent about and careful with, because I know if I'm having a day that's extra stressful for myself and my blood sugar is spiking and and all I've had is iced coffee, so my digestion is all messed up, it's only going to add to my stress to be not feeling good, have a headache, have a stomach ache, whatever it is. Then if I can at least take care of those small things for myself, I'll be able to focus my energy on the problem at hand. So yeah, I never had looked at things that way before. I would think, oh, I had a really crap day, I deserve this, milkshake or whatever it was. And I do still think, yeah, absolutely, you deserve it. But it's not going to serve me and my response to whatever's going on. So Yeah, that's
frustrating. This is why
know.
I hate it. I hate how my life can't just be solved with a Frappuccino. It's a really frustrating situation.
I know, man.
Because like the 30-something-year-old in me is like, girl, it is a milkshake and it is 9 a.m. and you're putting caffeine in it. So good luck with life. Like, and I'm like, but I deserve it. Yeah. So here we are. So if chronic stress is your life, you may be in that 88%. That's the thing, is like 88% is such a huge number. Is that because people aren't managing their stress well, or because life has become so stressful that it's inevitable?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I mean, the scientists that did these studies, they eliminated hormone fluctuations as the cause or a contributor to this. And they think there are probably environmental factors going on. Just the world that we live in today is this more stressful world. This overstimulation that we all deal with on a 24/7 basis, and the political climate, the economy, I mean, whatever you want to blame it on. We live in a very stressful time, probably the most stressful time in history, or one of them, at least. We're not in the middle of a war, but that's about the only thing we're not in the middle of.
Right. Yeah.
But
what are they correlating to this and gender? Now, why is it that it's women mostly?
Yeah.
What is the deal with that?
I mean,
because we're still juggling all the things all the time, us women, and
they're still trying to figure it out. The scientists are, but I mean, I could give them a hint. It's
I could give them my 2 cents about what I think it's mostly women.
Yeah, I mean, more women than ever before are in the workforce, where before, we really focused on the home life and keeping the fires burning in the caves, but
that's also what we're also focusing on too.
Right.
You're also focusing on all the things. That's not just
the thing.
One thing.
We entered the workforce in mass after World War II or during World War II. And the work that we have to do at home did not decrease. No. So I think I'm seeing in my kids' generation, because they're in their early 20s, that the division of labor in their partnerships is much more equal than I've ever seen it in my parents' relationship, my grandparents, my relationships. The division of labor in the younger people they have an expectation of it being more equal, which I think is fantastic. Amen. But the women in the age group we're talking about, 50 to 74, historically have not had that support from their partners as far as like cleaning, cooking, childcare. A lot of this age group is taking care of aging parents. Parents are living a lot longer than they ever have before, and are, the rate of Alzheimer's and dementia has gone up crazy high. So a lot of times they're dealing with that. They're still dealing with children who are boomerang children who come back to the home and live at home again in their 20s. I mean, I can think of so many reasons. Maybe their partners are retiring, and as much as I love
I'm no scientist or doctor, but I can give you 12 reasons why I think it's happening.
As much as I adore the fact that my partner doesn't work full time anymore, I'm still as busy as I was before. So having him under my feet all the time is sometimes challenging. Mm-hmm. And I mean, because I was used to him being away the majority of the day, and I could accomplish so much. But now he's home the majority of the day, and he expects, he's hungry for lunch. Even if he makes it for himself, it's usually he makes a mess. I hate to say that, but I'm still cleaning up after it, and it's not intentional. His intentions are so good, but this is not the way his life has ever been. Having to worry about.
You're going to start changing him now? That doesn't work.
I don't think at 67 years old that he's a great candidate for change. He does try.
No one ever is, even if they're hard. I mean, you just get to a point where that's just who you are. And it's fine. It's not mean. My dad's the same way, you're starting to become that way. And I'm just well, I'm not going to start to change you now. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Or he gets bored because he's used to having a busy day, and he wants me to spend time with him, or he comes and asks me a lot of questions while I'm trying to do my normal day. So, I mean, it's not his fault. We are having a lot of fun. We're traveling a lot more. We're doing a lot of fun things, but at the same time, it's a huge shift in your daily life. A lot of men retire before their wives just because there's usually a little bit of an age gap, even if it's only a couple of years. Men tend to have more physical jobs that have early retirement requirements, or just, aren't possible to do after a certain age. So I think it's a big combination of things, but I don't think it's unexpected. I mean, I can see all the stress triggers.
I wonder if the age will change with our kids' generation, if it will go up to the 70s or 80s, because they don't experience the same stress levels that this current one is. Like, I wonder if that age will change and go up or down, depending on what generation you're talking about, because we all experience different things. Like you pointed out, I mean, it's more of an equal platform now. So I wonder if that will change or keep it the same. I don't know.
I see some humongous differences between my generation and my kids' generation, which is crazy because it was 2 decades. That's it. And
it doesn't feel that much.
Right. That not only are their relationships tend to be more equal, they have different stresses than I have. I didn't grow up in the internet age. I didn't grow up with the pressures of social media and all of that. So that's ingrained in them. But they also are choosing to have children later in life or not at all. I mean, I know so many young people who have just already shared with me that they're not planning on having children. They have a dog and they're happy with that. So I think we won't see necessarily so many young parents or parents with a lot of children. Like my partner and I have 7 children. That is crazy. I don't think we're going to see that as often with the younger generation. And they tend to do things that maybe our parents' generation, my generation, not so much, but our parents' generation, like did not live together before they were married. They barely knew each other when they got married. There was a lot of divorces. There was a lot of relationship issues because they didn't take the time to get to know each other as well as I'm seeing the younger people do. They really
share a bathroom before you get married, please. I'm all for that. I think it's great because, I mean, you just said it right there. The divorce rate was higher because you didn't know who you were marrying. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't cohabitate with you very well.
Yeah.
Cohabitation's huge.
People got married after knowing each other a few months. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah. And 1% of them are still together and it's super cute, but that's not goals for me. I have to make sure that I can share a living space with you, and like we talked about in previous episodes, be able to know what your, financial goals are, be able to know what certain things are so that we're on the same page, because you really shouldn't just go based on whatever the thing was for our parents, just because you have to know the person better, because divorce is expensive too and not fun and sticky. You know?
And I will say that the younger generation is so much more open-minded to therapy, to getting help, to taking medication when needed, that a lot of the issues that I know, maybe my generation are not as much, but my parents' generation, who never went to therapy, never got help, never took medication. There was so much alcoholism. There was so much abusive relationships. There was so many undiagnosed mental disorders and undiagnosed trauma. And I mean, just so much that
my parents went to therapy, but we weren't allowed to tell anyone that we were going to therapy, as a family. It was like a taboo almost when I was a kid, and I'm not that old, now it's a badge of honor that you go and you're open about your struggles. And I
mean, have you seen those?
That is.
Have you seen those adorable little cookie jars by Jonathan Adler? They're little ginger jars, and they say Prozac or CBD.
Yeah. I think it's great that we're,
I love it.
I think it's great that we're being open and cool about, checking in with yourself here, because this internet, I didn't grow up with, I had just AOL Instant Messenger, AI, that had just kind of started when I was in junior high school. It just kind of started to become cool, but that's super not cool right now.
Yeah.
So it's I kind of still grew up without the internet and having the pressures of social media either. But I see a lot of middle-aged blogger moms out there trying to push their stuff. And I feel like that's such a high stressful situation that it's we're still doing it to ourselves, even if we didn't grow up with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I graduated high school in 94, and I will say that I do not have a single person in my world during that time of my life in the 90s who openly admitted to having depression or anxiety. I don't remember any of my friends struggling with that or openly telling us that they were struggling with that or going to see a doctor about it or taking medication. My kids openly talk about their psychiatric medications with their friends and share their symptoms and what they're taking and how it's helping. I mean, one of my kids keeps their medication in a gumball machine.
That's awesome.
That little boost of serotonin they get when they turn the thing and it pops out.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. And I mean, it's openly in their living room. They have no shame. And I love that. I'm so happy that we got to that point, because I don't think that there was less depression when I was a teenager. I just think people didn't talk about it.
I went to therapy from ages 6 to middle school until regular therapy, because my family was just screwed up. But my dad and mom were always about oh, just let people know you're going to the doctor. Like, it was like,
Mhm.
it almost made me look like I had like an actual problem because I was going like once a month to the doctor, and my friends were like, where are you going? I'm going to the doctor, because I'd be pulled out in the middle of school for my
Yeah.
appointment. And it wasn't like, I, it wasn't like they were like, don't tell anyone, but it wasn't ever like, hey, if anyone asks, you can, like, I never felt, and I never thought about that until right this second. I never ever felt comfortable or open to telling people I was going to therapy. Like, it was like almost like a really, like there was something maybe wrong with me and they were trying to figure it out, or
Yeah.
there was something wrong with our family and they didn't want anyone to know, and I'm like, dang, that could really mess with someone, that's how you think of as therapy. I'm so glad we're past that,
Yeah, me too. And I also have noticed that for my kids' generation, they have so much healthier boundaries than even my generation was allowed to express. I mean, I had family members who were not great, and we were just told, just be nice,
Oh, that one.
ignore them when they say something rude, and that's your elder, like you have to be respectful. And my kids,
Or like if
they'll
you have a
just
creepy uncle, put
yeah,
clothes on, like you have to bend
cover
over,
up. It's
like
you.
that person, not it's
Yeah.
you that's the problem. You're
You as a
projecting the problem.
child have to
Yeah.
do the work, not the grown up who's screwed up. And my kids will flat out say, I'm sorry, grandma, you can't talk to me like that. Like that's, yeah. And I just sit there golf clapping,
good.
but
Yeah.
I noticed the older people, are like, oh, can you believe she said that? And I was like, hell
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Like the older generation is just so going to be so surprised on the extreme moves that our children are making and how we're so backing all of that up. Like, I'm
It was
sorry.
so funny because last night, my partner and I were watching the new series called 1883. I don't know if anyone watching has watched this. Probably, it's a huge show. And in the second episode, it's in the year 1883, so obviously not the same rules as today. The
No.
the aunt was chastising her niece, and who's a teenager, I think she's 17 in the show, and she slapped her 3 times because of she was being disrespectful. And my husband did, we were talking about it, and I said, oh no, like if I had an aunt who slapped me, they'd be on the floor. They'd be punched right in the face. And my husband was like, you would not put your hands on an elder. And I was like, if they hit me first, yeah, I would. Absolutely. He goes, I don't believe you. And I was like, oh, I said, let me tell you, I don't care if it's my own parent, my grandparent, if someone puts their hands on me, it's the last time they do it. And he was laughing because he could not believe that it would be, I would think it was okay to hit an older person back. And I was like,
who you are.
yeah. And I was like, oh, because I was like, if someone older than you put their hands on my child, because the mom didn't do anything in the show, she just watched it happen. If someone put their hands on my child, I don't care if that's a teacher, a cop, an older person, that would be the last thing.
The Queen of England. I don't care how fancy they are or how elder they are. Yeah, I think that when I watched The Greatest Showman in like the very beginning, when like that old guy like slaps the kid in the face because he like was messing with the little girl, like they were playing a game, and like the dad just watched like his boss slap his kid in the face, and I went, what? Every single time I see it, and I'm like, where was like that parental instinct to be like, I don't care who you are, or how much you pay me, or what you do, like you don't touch my child, like. No,
yeah.
Like, and I'm glad that our kids are creating boundaries like that. Not that we cannot or should not respect our elders, but that like for too long, grandma, you've been given too much free range to say and do what you feel at holiday dinners because of you are an elder and you must be respected.
And I have taught my kids to stand up for themselves, but also to be respectful. So if somebody says something to them that they think is crossing one of their boundaries, they don't have to cuss them out or freak out.
They're smart enough to have a creative vocabulary to get their point across without being
they can
like
say
childish.
I'm sorry, this is crossing one of my boundaries. I don't feel comfortable sharing that with
they
you.
Want to be
Please don't ask me that again. Yeah. Or you know what? I don't allow people to talk to me that way, but I would love to have a conversation with you if you can change your tone. Like I told somebody the other day that if they wanted to talk to me, they needed to soften their tone. And that was just a random like person I met who thought they were like in a position of authority. They said something kind of rude to me. And I said, you know what? I'd love to talk to you about this, but I'm going to need you to soften your tone. And they did. So
there's a way to get your point across without having to, because the minute you use certain words or tones, you lose all credibility. And your kids are super smart and mature enough to know that. And they know that people are just waiting for them to show their immaturity,
And they've watched me do it so many times.
Oh, you're the best at it, by the way.
To have a super even tone, not raise my voice, no vulgarity, nothing like that. And just say, you know what, you're making me uncomfortable. If you could take a few steps back or something very calmly like that, because I've noticed, especially when you're dealing, unfortunately, when you're talking personally to older men that are older than you, this is my experience, that I'm not trying to pigeonhole people. They tend to dismiss you as hysterical if your tone even goes up slightly.
Oh,
so you have to keep a super even tone and just say, you're making me very uncomfortable, or I don't allow people to speak to me that way, but when you've calmed down, I'd love to have this conversation with you. Something like that. I mean, I don't know. We're kind of off topic now, but
no, we're not though. Cause it's all about how I feel like chronic stress. I feel like the stress by 50, cause you're only at really with the lifespan that we have now, you can live to be pretty old now. Mm-hmm. So at 50, if you're hitting that stress level, it comes from, it had to have started really early, So I mean, I want
to point out too, that it is never too late to do a course correction, because I watched my grandmother in her last marriage get spoken to horribly. And she was not the type to put up with that. But in this relationship, it had become her normal. And she had kind of desensitized herself to it. We all saw it. She just thought, oh, he's a grumpy old man. That's the way he talks. And it's never too late to inform someone that you're setting new boundaries for yourself, even if you have a relationship in your life, whether that's your boss, your brother-in-law, your husband, your best friend, whatever, who speaks to you in a way that you don't like. It's never too late to tell them, you know what, in this new year, I'm setting new boundaries for myself. So I know this has been our dynamic, but from now on, I'm not going to allow myself to be spoken to this way anymore. I hope you'll respect that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. You can change the rules anytime you want. It's your life.
This episode can be a wake-up call, and you're like, oh, well, I know you might know exactly what's causing this chronic stress in your life every day that might be pushing you towards that 88%. You have all the power in the world to take over your life and take over your self-care and take over, like, this is who you have to protect above all else,
Right.
Because we don't deserve to be in the 88%. We got to change this number. I mean, there's certain things that are out of our control, that are certainly out of our control. And like you pointed out, there are ways that we can manage that daily stress. But then if there are things and people in your life that are just the cause of this stress, feel free to put your foot down and put some boundaries up, and watch things change,
Yeah. And sometimes things just become habitual ways of speaking to each other, and you can change that. So if somebody in your life, if you communicate that to them, I mean, we would hope that the people closest to us would want what is best for us and would want our mental health to be great and our physical health to be great. If that is not the case, you don't owe anybody a relationship. You really do not. Just as no one owes you one. So if someone is crossing boundaries with you regularly, contributing to poor mental and physical health for your body and your mind, sometimes we just have to weed the garden out a little bit.
Protect on the most literal level, protect your heart, your heart. Because I don't know about you, but I am so looking forward to the second half of my life when I get to just do retired, chill things. And if I have to deal with heart conditions that other outside elements and people cause me that I could have done something about a lot beforehand, I would have liked to have known about that. This is information so that we can go and course correct.
Right.
We're given that this is a thing so that you could do something about it. It's not, oh, hey, this is a thing and it's inevitable. It doesn't have to be inevitable. There are things that you can do to course correct.
Yeah. You need to advocate for yourself, for your health. You're the only person that will do that. And a lot of these stress triggers and stress situations are inevitable, but some of them aren't. So that's what we're asking you to focus on. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. If whatever you can change and can do, this is the time to do it before this becomes something that you're dealing with. I mean, like we said, 20% of the people who have this stress-induced cardiomyopathy end up with damage to their heart. So this is not something that you want to mess around with.
Yeah. And it's not, and you were saying it is not pre-existing. It's not underlining it's something that was caused by a certain situation or a chronic buildup of situations.
Right. So far, they have not found that this is genetically predisposed. This is a environmental factor.
Something you have actual control over. And the thing is, I want to point out, and like, it's obvious, but be patient with finding out what that thing is to help you in your situation. Like for me, it's working out and eating healthy and moving my body. You know, I can't sit in a bubble bath. I go crazy. I can't puzzle. I go crazy, you know, but for other people, relaxing might be like whatever form of self-care is good for you to help you when you're chronically stressed. That's not, like we've talked about in other episodes, going the opposite way, like eating poor foods and stuff like that. Find that for yourself and apply that too, because man, you know, like sometimes you just can't not talk to mom anymore. Or sometimes you tell mom about your new boundaries, for example, or dad or whoever it is, and they don't respect them. You know, do what you can, but know the outside elements are just going to be what they are, you know?
Yeah. And whether or not, you know, you feel the need to make drastic changes to your life is a totally personal decision. And you need to look at everything in your life and just kind of try to do what you can to take care of yourself and advocate for yourself. So the stress-induced cardiomyopathy, what it actually is it's a condition where you get severe swelling of the left ventricle of your heart, and it's like beating like crazy and swells up like a balloon. And the shape of it, they call it an octopus pot because it looks like these little clay pots that like Japanese fishermen use to trap octopus. That's why they call it an octopus pot, damage to the heart. And it's that left ventricle. So since the symptoms are so identical to a heart attack, you know, it's something that you should definitely go into the hospital for. It's not something you should just dismiss because it is serious. And because you can't really distinguish it from an actual heart attack while it's happening, you definitely want to make sure that you go obviously directly to an emergency room. And again, this is something that people have who do not have a history of heart disease. It's usually not fatal, but it can cause heart failure, like we said, in about 20% of cases, that's too many. So you don't want to mess around with it. But most people do recover pretty quickly, usually within a week, without, you know, any permanent damage to their heart muscle.
Ugh.
But it's still so scary. So some of the emotional stressors that they have listed here that can induce it, if it's a sudden stress cause, are some of the ones we already talked about: the sudden loss of a loved one, being fired from a long-term job, an automobile accident, a sudden serious illness, domestic violence, trauma, things like that. So those are the and experiencing immediate danger, like from a natural disaster. I mean, I'm sure this probably came up during that big tornado that we just had. I mean, that was absolutely horrifying. I can imagine how that would cause an immediate stress reaction. There's not really a lot of standard guidelines for treatment. They give medication kind of to control your blood pressure and keep it in the optimal range. And they can give you blood thinners, and they try to make sure that you're not having any kind of spikes in your cholesterol. But most patients recover on their own within 3 to 7 days. And within a month, their heart will test like completely normal. So you still want to definitely see a doctor, go directly to an emergency room because it could be a heart attack. The symptoms are the same. And it's not something you want to mess around with, even with this condition, you don't want to mess around with it. So, it's something that doctors are diagnosing more and more. I think they're becoming a lot more familiar with it because it is happening so much more. And, mostly what they tell you to do as they release you from the hospital is to make lifestyle changes. So
I love hearing that. You're like, don't stress as much. You're like, okay. That was told a lot to me when I was pregnant. Like, okay, just reduce your stress level because of the blood pressure. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll get right on that.
I mean, we have a blood pressure monitor at home. I do use it occasionally. I used to use it regularly and record my blood pressure every day, but I don't need to do that anymore. I feel like I figured out like what was causing any kind of fluctuations. But I think if this is something that you feel like you're at risk for, you definitely need to, either on your own or with the help of your doctor or therapist, come up with a stress reduction plan. And you can start with things that are completely easy and within your control. I say easy, I don't mean easy, but like They don't require
you
major.
don't have to go on a big retreat or anything, or like
no, you don't
hire
have to like
someone to come over, and it's like something you can apply immediately.
right. Like eating healthy, exercising, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water.
All the things that we all know.
We all know we have to do for so many reasons.
There's got to be another answer. Can't just be as simple as eating healthy and getting enough sleep and moving your body.
Yeah. You know, you could move to Hawaii or like live in a cabin in the mountains or something. I'm sure that would be stress reducing, but I don't know if it's practical for everyone.
Not for the majority. The majority of people would roll their eyes big time if that was given the prescription, more than just the basics, you know?
Yeah, I would be like, "Oh, doctor prescribed. I gotta go. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'll see you later."
That doctor prescribed self-care vacation. Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is that I remember you and I used to talk all the time about how our dream vacation was to get a hotel by ourselves without a husband and kids, and just spend the time by ourselves, like watching TV, reading, ordering room service, not even needing to go anywhere. It could be a hotel down the street. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that like we both agreed that sounded amazing, but we don't do it.
No.
And,
oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
No. Cause I mean, like, could you imagine? How would I pull that off? Like,
I would come home to a worse situation than I left, and that would cause me more stress. So I would need to also hire a stand-in.
Everyone would be happy and fine, but you'd come home to like a horrible situation, wouldn't even be worth the trouble. Like, but it is worth the trouble. I always laugh when I see that Bad Moms movie, because when Kristen Bell's character is like, her dream is when she like gets into a small car accident and she has to go to the hospital, and then she has to eat Jell-O and watch soap operas and
love it.
I mean, 80, we're talking about percentage. It's going to be over 50% of moms are like, sounds great, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that when I hear about celebrities going to the hospital for exhaustion, I'm like, yeah, that's so nice. Where do I sign up?
Because then I get like stressed thinking about the bills that I am now piling up, taking care of myself. And it's not going, I know it's like going to a massage one time. It's like, great. I feel great. 15 minutes later, I'm stressed and I'm all like this again. Like, it doesn't fix the problem permanently. So I'm never going to do it, but man, I want to do it still one day. One day I'll win a hotel vacation stay for one. And I'll be like, sorry guys. Like, it says in the thing, for one person only, must be one. Like, oh, that would be great. Yeah. No, it's always with somebody else.
Yeah.
You don't get to watch the things you want to watch or do what you want to do. Yeah.
I know. Well, and I joke all the time. People are always like, oh, you know, especially like in the last few years when the kids are still at home, people would be like, oh, like you guys are always going somewhere. You're always on vacation. I'm like, yeah, but like my responsibilities come with me. So I'm just cooking and cleaning and working from a different geographical location, but I'm not like, no one's doing all of that for me. I'm still doing everything for everyone. I'm just doing it somewhere with palm trees or somewhere with snow or somewhere like out the window looks different, but I'm still the one loading the dishwasher and doing the laundry and like taking care of all the accounting and stuff. Like I'm just doing it from a different location.
Yeah.
But
one day it'll be our turn.
Yes.
One day it'll be 88% of men over 50 will have this issue. But the conversation you and I are having is a prime example of why it is 88% of women over 50.
Exactly.
Because when we're on vacation, we're never on vacation. We're on vacation when we're dead. When we die, we finally get to go on vacation, and it's no longer, the dishes are no longer our problem. But I feel like even when you and I are way too old to be doing the dishes, we're just going to be looking around like trying to figure out a way to physically get over there and do them and not kill ourselves. Cause that's my grandma's like that now. She's super self-sufficient. Shouldn't be doing 90% of the stuff she does, like your grandma, but like physically still can. So will, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, we're just going to be stressed out forever. It's inevitable.
I don't think there's a way for us to avoid it, but if we can do some things to kind of like take care of ourselves in the meantime, I think that makes probably a big difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, well, I think this is obviously like a really important topic, because I had kind of a vague awareness of this, but I had no idea the statistics of it. I had no idea like the causes.
We all know
of it.
what we're doing to ourselves with the stress we put ourselves under. We all know, and some of it is unavoidable. If you have a major life trauma, that's not what we're talking about. But until you really hear that there's an actual like medical condition and it's doing this to your heart, I hope that's enough for people to really stop and evaluate what they're doing and try and course correct. Even it was for me, because I'm not 50 yet, but I am very high stress and I've always been, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's affecting me, but like until I hear the actual facts, it's just a thing, I don't really look at it. So
yeah. And I would also, some of the symptoms to me sounded very similar to like panic attacks. So I would caution anyone who thinks that, if they're going through something super stressful and that's the reaction they have, if you're trying to guess or self-diagnose that you're having a panic attack, maybe don't do that. Maybe go to the emergency because it could be something way more serious.
Yeah, you never want to just like Google anything or assume that it's one thing, because it's not. No, just go get it checked out, especially if it's hitting you at ages where it shouldn't be hitting. Like, just check things out. Like I said, I have heart murmurs, irregular, and it's stress related. So yeah. And it's like, I went to the doctor at 9 because my mom and dad were like, you're too young to be having this issue,
Well, and I think as moms and as women, we tend to put ourselves on the back burner so often.
Yes.
And I know like I'll schedule appointments for everyone other than myself, and I'll take care of everyone other than myself. I'm always last on the list.
Or
so
we
even
don't want to know the information, so we just avoid it.
Yeah,
we
that's
all
a big
do that. That's a big one too, because we're just afraid, we're afraid, especially women. We don't want to like leave our children and whatever. So yeah, just get things checked out and don't self-diagnose, because like you said, a lot of these things are very similar to other things and you don't want to make the wrong diagnosis. If you're, no one should be doing that.
No, nobody should be doing that. And if you're having a symptom of anything that you've been putting off seeing a doctor about, I would not do that. I would definitely go and treat yourself with the same level of care that you treat the rest of the people in your family. I know that my sister-in-law, I was having a symptom she was ignoring, and she thought, it was stress. It was something, I don't know. It's not important. I'll be fine. And it was her grown son who actually demanded that she go to an emergency room, and she ended up having a blood clot in her lung that was super serious. And she had been ignoring it for weeks. So, I hear these cautionary tales, and I know how important things can be to get diagnosed early. Not even just talking about this health issue, but there are a lot of health issues that we can ignore and say, oh, I'll get to it. But our to-do lists are so long that we don't get to it. And I would just encourage everyone, if there's something like that, and I know this is probably resonating with a lot of people, go get it checked out. Give yourself that peace of mind. Take care of yourself the same way you would loved ones and family members. It doesn't matter what age you are. I just lost my sister-in-law, who was my age last week. She was my age. Her kids are the same age as mine. So 2 of them have the same exact birthday. And I don't know that she had symptoms that she didn't get checked out right away, but I know, that things progressed really rapidly for her. And I can't imagine what her children are going through. I know how much my children still need me at the ages they are, even though they're grown. So it's one of those things when something like that happens to you, or you lose someone in your family that's the same age as you, or a friend or something, makes you really more aware. I've been taking such better care of myself since I found out that she was sick. And I hope that I continue to keep that in mind and honor her in that way by like just being a better health advocate for myself. But I think any of us who are having any kind of symptoms that we're ignoring, don't do that. Stop it.
My mom was having chronic headaches, and, she passed away from a brain aneurysm, but she had never checked them out. And the day before she died, she was like, oh, something's not right. But she never went to the doctor and checked it out. So not like I'm saying, oh, going to the doctor is going to fix everything. But if something doesn't feel right, it's your job to go get it. That's your body's way of saying something to you. And just be on top of your health. We have annual checkups. There's all kinds of doctors for all parts of the body now. So if something's feeling not right, go get it checked out. Don't ignore it. Because it could cause, we're not, no one knows what's going on inside there.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, they don't. And
you don't know if that little feeling in your heart is like a weird, like muscle you pulled while getting out of the car funky, or if there's something going on. So don't try and self-diagnose it. You don't know what's going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, one of the sad things that I've been processing over the last week is that, when I'm thinking of taking better care of myself, I'm not thinking of it like, oh, I have such more life to live. I want to do all these things. I'm thinking of, I need to be here for my kids, and I need to be here for my partner.
Yeah.
And my kids have been so affected by the loss of their aunt this week that, they're calling me daily saying, how are you feel like checking in on me? I'm like, guys, I'm fine. But like, they've encouraged me to, not to drink more than the maximum, whatever the doctor says, which I think is like 3 drinks a week for women. They're telling me like, make sure you're eating your fruits and vegetables. Like, they're on me. And the thing is, it's the stuff that I will do for them because I know that they still need me, and not for myself. And that's really messed up. Like,
I've been same. I mean, like, if I could just put a stamp on it and go same, like because I lost my mom when I was 20, and it was sudden, and she was in in my opinion, perfectly great health. And she just she was alive one day and not alive the next day. And so that trauma has never left me and will never leave me. So I live in a daily fear of, I don't want to die for my children. And then my immediate thought after that is, what the actual is wrong with you?
Right.
Why
That's
cannot you just stay alive for you? Go freaking stay alive so you can climb Everest, girl. Like, it doesn't have to be for your children.
No.
But it is because of the trauma I went through. But even if my mom was still alive and well, I would still have that feeling of like, there's so much they need me for. There's so much I needed my mom for when I was 9, when I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much I needed my mom for when I was 20 and my mom wasn't there. Like, I'm going to have this feeling until I'm like 150, like a crazy looking like corpse person, because I just will always feel like they need me in all stages of life.
They
But
do. I can guarantee that.
They will. But I also got to show up for myself one day this lifetime, not this year, but like, I got to be like, girl, I'm living today for me. Like, never that way. So what's wrong with us?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's all moms. It's all women. We're not weird. It's all of us just want to, because we all had moms and we all were children who had a mom mostly. And
except for me.
But you had
I had a grandmother. I had a great grandmother. She was fantastic.
You didn't have a mom, and you have this expectation of what you want to be for your mom, or you had a terrible mom and you have this expectation of what you want to be for your children.
Right.
So on some level, if you're a mom, you're only hanging on every single day for your kids and maybe your partner, but for your kids. And until they're dead, because like, it's even when they're adults, like you just said, you're still kids, like, they need me every day.
My kids are in their 20s and they need me every day.
Sometimes all of them, but at least one kid every day.
Yeah. Well, my kids are in their 20s. I talk to them every day, and they don't necessarily need something from me every day, but between all of them, it seems like it's an everyday thing.
There's a weird question or a weird scenario or a weird something. You are needed for any type of weird thing. Even if it's not like I need you, it's like, I have this question, you would know.
Right.
You have to show up on this world, on this planet every day, or something's getting screwed up.
Right. And I just know how much it would affect their future and the choices that they make and the life that they would live if they didn't have me suddenly. So I put so much more effort into taking care of myself on their behalf than I would if it was just, there are things I still want to do. I'm only 45. Like there's so much more that I still want to accomplish.
And you will get there, but not because you did it for you, but because you accidentally made yourself healthy for your children and you're still around. That's what, like, you're in optimal health, not because you wanted to be, but because you tricked yourself into being in optimal health for your children.
Because I know people count on me and they need me, not because like, I have, stuff I want to do, but because people need me. But I guess whatever the reason is, that if it works, it works.
That's still lovely, I mean,
because like you, I mean, I didn't have really that many people in my life when I was in my teenage and early adult life. I was really on my own. And I think it's part of the reason that I do this advocacy work. And I always work with teenage girls, because I know how I was at that age and I didn't have anyone. And I mean, I had my grandmother, but she was already old by then. And I know how important it is if you have even just one person who's like completely your safety net there for you, your ride or die, like
your parent figure,
your parent figure, or your person you can count on, your person, that's life-changing. That's really all any of us need, is just one person. And for my kids, that I'm their person. I mean, I was a single mom for most of their life. Like, I'm their person. So I feel such a responsibility. And when they were younger, it was even stronger, that responsibility, because they had one parent, and if they lost me, they'd be alone basically. I mean, I know my sister would take them, and that's not what I mean. I mean,
but
like,
it's not the same.
Not the
I know
same,
what you're
right.
saying. It's an honor and a privilege and a responsibility to be that person in someone's life.
I take my life seriously and my health seriously. But when they were younger, it was things like, not taking unnecessary risks. And like, but now that I'm 45, it's like getting my colonoscopy and eating my veggies and
I'm telling you, because you have I am an older child who has a parent who does not take care of themselves. And it is such a mental, emotional strain to worry about, because he doesn't take care of himself, and then things do happen. He literally just like sprained some ribs from walking, and he fell. So he will avoid going to appointments. He won't go to appointments because he doesn't probably want to hear the information the doctor has to say.
My partner is the
Eats
same.
like crap. And so I'm constantly worried about him. If I call and he doesn't pick up, 99% of me thinks he's dead somewhere, just because he doesn't take care of himself. And so as an adult child, you also don't want to worry. You want your parent to care about their health, because
it's one less thing for you to worry about, because
I have one parent, and it's like a terrible situation over there. You know, like he's here and he's not doing it right.
My partner is the same way. He eats terribly. He doesn't exercise enough. He takes unnecessary risks. I mean, he fell the other day too. And it's just like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I can't take care of myself and take care of you every minute. Like,
and then you talk to him about it and nothing changes.
Yeah. No, I talked to him about it, and he says, I know I don't want to be a burden on you. You're absolutely right. I love you so much. And then I see him, snacking on Fritos, and I'm like, well, did we just not talk about this? But
I've tried every language. I mean, I've tried like, hey, you're the only parent I've got, to like, hey, you deserve a better life for yourself. Like, I've tried every avenue from tough love to love, and then like nothing's working. So like,
it's the old dog, new tricks thing.
But they're men. They're not even the people we're talking about right now. Like,
can we just say, like, I have over during COVID, the beginning of COVID, I really kind of let my health go. I was like, pajamas all day, eat whatever you want. Like, I was just hibernating, which I think is something that we do during stressful situations. I was stress hibernating. And then like a light bulb switched on. I was like, this is going to go on a long time. Like, I can't do this. So, I mean, I have taken such good care of myself since then. My health is better than it's been since I was in my 20s right now. And it's not just weight, like that was a big part of it, but it was also like eating a proper diet, drinking enough water. I went and got my annual mammogram, and the doctor had told me, like, genetically, we've figured out your cancer risk is about 14%. And I was like, okay, I can deal with that. That's not that bad. And she's like, but if you drink alcohol more than 3 drinks a week, it goes up to 10% for every 3 drinks. And I was like, okay, like if I'm at a cocktail party, I could drink 3 drinks in a night. Like, that's a thing I could do. So then 14% risk for breast cancer. Okay. 24% risk. Not okay with that. Like, I'm not ready for that. That's okay.
A bigger number.
Way bigger number. So, I mean, it's little things like that I've tweaked in my day-to-day life that I feel like
that add up. It's the little things that'll add up that will make a bigger difference.
Responsibility for my health. And
we all going to die at some point, but there are things that we are doing to ourselves every day that are like putting us closer into that grave that you just by change. I had no idea. No idea. No idea. That's crazy to me. That those things went together and it was like that drastic. 10% is a big jump.
Well, and I'm sorry, but I don't consider 3 drinks a week to be excessive. No. I can have 2 glasses of wine while I'm cooking dinner and not think twice about it.
I also don't really drink all that. I don't really drink unless it's social. Like, I can have 3 drinks once a month. That's not a problem for me. But for people that I know drink, maybe they don't know these statistics, right? That they're just like,
and that
might change their behavior.
Yeah, I'm not a regular drinker either, but like if my husband and I go out to dinner, I'll have a drink, or sometimes I'll pour myself a glass of wine while I'm cooking. And I was adding it up in my head and I was like, I'm pretty close to that threshold or slightly over. Like I need to chill out a little bit. And I would, when people used to ask me, like, the doctors always ask, are you a drinker? I was like, no, like,
what does that mean? Like, I drink once? Like,
yeah.
Or I didn't have one on the way here. Like, I don't know are you a drinker? Like, I always choose no, because I'm not,
I've learned that doctors aren't really proactive about talking to you about this kind of stuff. You kind of need to be your advocate, and you need to ask these kinds of questions, because I would never have guessed that in a million years. And having just lost a sister-in-law to cancer at my age, it's made me so much more hyper aware of the choices that I'm making and how that might affect my risks for certain things. So, I don't know. When I was in my 20s, it was like, Burger King, one night, whatever, like, who cares? I am going to live forever. And now I'm 45, and it's like, no, girl, you've got to get mammograms. You've got to get colonoscopies. You've got to like eat salmon 3 days a week and brown rice. And like, I'm reading all these things that tell me all this long list of stuff I have to do to try to like live another 45 years in a healthy way. Because I also know, my grandmother lived super healthy until she was 90, and then she developed dementia. And what I saw her go through is not something I would wish on myself or wish for my children to have to deal with. I'm honored that I got to take care of her the way that I did, but it wasn't easy. And I want to avoid that if I can for my own kids. Yeah. Like we all do.
We all do. We all want, we all want them to be, our parents to be happy and healthy. But we all want to avoid that. Yeah. It's just be proactive about being aware of what's going on in your personal body. And information sucks to hear sometimes, but avoiding information doesn't make the information change. It just makes you gives you less options or time sometimes to deal with these things, small and big, if you're unaware what's going on. If you're
having symptoms, go see your doctor. If you have a doctor who you feel doesn't take enough time with you or doesn't answer your questions thoroughly or isn't proactive about offering suggestions. I've had doctors in my life when I was just barely over the BMI line to overweight, like barely. They would, every single appointment, they'd tell me, oh yeah, you've got headaches. You probably need to lose weight. Oh yeah, you've got this. You probably need. I was like, you have one answer for everything. Like I'm literally 2 points over on the BMI scale. Like, give me a break. So I think that kind of dismissal by doctors is not acceptable. You need to find a new doctor if that's what you're dealing with. If you have stuff that you've kind of been putting off of dealing with and taking care of in your life, we're not getting younger. None of us are. We need to do this. It's a responsibility we have to ourselves. We talked about tips to be healthier. We've talked about a lot of things like that. We're going to probably have that article on that podcast episode back up next week. So if you want to tune in and to listen to that was a really good episode, I think. But, it's a new year. This is a time when this is on a lot of people's minds. So this is not the only health condition that you can talk about related to stress, related to maybe not doing as much self-care or taking care of yourself the way that you should. These are things that we can't kind of blind ourselves to anymore. We need to deal with them.
I agree.
So hopefully this helped somebody.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And you guys, if you want to talk more about this subject, please go to our Facebook discussion group and start a conversation there. We'd love to hear your comments. The related article to this will be up on our site as well. So you can always comment there and we do respond. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. All right. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to bookmark our site, she'safullonmonet.com, and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're enjoying this podcast, it helps us a lot if you can follow, rate, and review. See y'all next week.